Welcome to the lecture 5 in the R module of the course Data Science for Engineers. In the previous lectures we have seen how to create data frames, how to access rows and columns of a data frames, how to add rows and columns to an existing data frame, and so on. Here we will look at more sophisticated operations on data frames such as recasting and joining of data frames. In this lecture we are going to first define what is recasting of a data frame means, why do one need to recast the data frames, how the recasting can be done in two steps using melt and cast command, how the recasting can be done in a single step using recast command, and how to join two data frames using left join, right join and inner join functions of the dplyr package in R. Let us first see what is recasting of data frames means. Recasting is a process of manipulating a data frame in terms of its variables. Why do one wants to recast the data frames? The answer is recasting helps in reshaping the data, which could bring more insights on the data when it is seen from the different perspective. Let us take a data frame which is created in the last lecture. Let's say we have the data frame named PD, which has column name, month, blood sugar and blood pressure. So now you want to convert this data frame into the other form which is shown below, where you have blood sugar and blood pressure as the variables of importance to you, and this involves an operation which is called recasting. This recasting is demonstrated using an example here. So in order to do recasting, we have to have a data frame which is the following, which is shown in the screen. To create this data frame, you can use the code that is displayed in the screen, this one, and when you use this code and execute this, you will see the data frame which is shown here. Since we have the data frame now, we can see how to recast the existing data frame into the form which we want. Let us see an example to demonstrate this, how to recast the data frame into another form using two steps. First one is melt and the second one is cast. This is the data frame you have. When you want to use melt and cast commands to recast the data frame, you need to identify what are called identifier variables and measurement variables of your data frame. The rules for identifying these identifier variables are, most of the discrete type variables can be identifier variables, most of the numeric variables can be measurement variables, and there are certain rules for the measurement variables, such as categorical and date variables cannot be measurement variables. So the key idea is, from the data frame you have to identify what are called identifier variables and what are called measurement variables. Once you have identified these identifier variables and measurement variables, you are ready to do the melt operation, which we are going to see now. This melt command is available in the reshape2 library. Here is the first time we are loading another library to perform some operations. In the pre-course material, we have given you how to install packages, and this library command helps you to load the packages that are already installed. And this is the syntax of the melt command. For the melt command, you have to give the data frame as first argument, and you have to specify what are the identifier variables in your data frame, and you have to also specify what are the measurement variables in your data frame. And these are the default variable and value arguments that are generated when the melt command is executed. To do this melting operation, we can use this code. We first have to load this library reshape2, which contains this functions melt and cast. So the syntax we have seen: melt, you need to pass the data frame which you want to melt, and you have to also specify what are the identifier variables in that data frame you are passing, what are the measurement variables that you are passing. Once you do this, the initial data frame will become like this. What it has done is, since this name and month are given as ID variables, they are as it is, and measurement variables BS and BP are now stacked under a column by name variable, as we can see here, and the values of them are stored in another column which is named as value. So when the melt command is executed, it will take these ID variables and keep them as is, and then convert the measured variables into one single column which is given by variable, and stores the values of those variables in another column by name value. That's what when you say in this syntax, variable.name is variable and value.name is value means. So the columns which carries this measurement variables is named as variable, and which holds the values of those measurement variables is named as value. So this is the first step: identify variables and measurement variables of the data frame and use the melt command to melt the data frame to get to this structure. Next step is the cast. Since we are using data frame here, we use the function dcast. This dcast function is also available in Reshape 2 library. The syntax for dcast is as follows. The dcast command takes in the data frame which you want to decast, and the formula which we will explain for this case what it is, and value.var. So you have to specify the columns from which the values to be taken from when you are decasting. Let us see the example for our case. Here you have a data frame df which you are already melted. Now you are creating another data frame df2 by using dcast command. This is the data frame which you are passing, that is df, and this is the formula. What does it say? I want to have this variable and month as constant because we want blood sugar and blood pressure to be your variables of importance, and then you have to convert the name variable into 2 columns, or how many ever columns depending upon the number of categories in the name. That is what this formula explains. Columns variable and month remain as it is, and the categories in the name becomes new variable. We have 2 categories in this example which are Sam and Sendil, and they will become the new columns that are new variables, and the values for those variables has to be picked from the column value. That is what this value.variable suggests. Once this operation is done, if you print the data frame, this is how you will get the data frame in your required format. So you have this melted data frame. From this, when you apply dcast function, you pass in this data frame and you say variable and month are the ones which you want to have it as constant, that are the left side of the formula, and to the right of the formula you have name. So in this name column we have 2 categories, Sam and Sendil, and those will be created as 2 new columns, and the values for those columns has to be taken from the value column of the melted data frame. That is how the cast command works. Now let us see how to do this recasting in a single step. So recasting can be performed in a single step using recast function. The syntax for this is as follows. Recast, you have to give the data and the formula, and you have to also give ID variables and measurement variables. So if you can see this input arguments, it takes the input arguments of both melt and cast, as we can see in this command here. So recast command takes the data frame and it also takes the formula. This is the parameter that refers to the cast section of the command, and this is the parameter that refers to the melt section of the command. What we have seen in the melt, we have to specify what are the ID variables and the measurement variables. So when you specify only ID variables, the rest of the variables are defaultly taken as the measurement variables. So that's why we didn't specify measurement variables here. You can also specify the measurement variables, as we can see from the syntax. Now when you execute this command, it will melt and it will also cast, and it will print the casted data frame as shown in the screen below. Next, with this we can see that melt and cast operations can be done together using the recast command. Next we see how to create a new variable that is a function of already existing variable using the mutate command. Sometimes it is essential to have a translated or the function or a variable which is created from the existing variables. In this case, let us assume logarithm of BP value is something which is giving us more insight about the data. How do you create a new variable which carries the logarithm value of the blood pressure from the existing blood pressure value is the question. So now how to do that is you have to load the library dplyr. You can use mutate command and you need to pass the data frame, and you have to say you have to create new column which is carrying the values of logarithm of the existing column BP. Now if you print this PD2, you can see that there is another variable, that is logarithm of BP, that is created, and you have the corresponding values of it. Now let us look how to join two data frames. It's very important in terms of data analysis, because you will get part of the data from one source and the part of the data from other source. When we want to match these two data which are having some common IDs, how do you do this is the question. So this combining of data frames can be done using dplyr package. The general syntax of this dplyr package is as follows. You need to have a function which could be either left join, right join, inner join, and so on. And you need to pass the first data frame and the second data frame, because you want to do joining of these two data frames. And you have to specify by which ID variable you have to join this two data frames. So here the ID variable is common to both data frames. That means you have to have that variable in the both data frames which you want to combine, and this variable provides the identifiers for combining the two data frames. And the nature of combination depends upon the function that is being used. We will see some examples. As a toy example, let us see this one. We have one data frame which carries ID, name and age. We have 1 and 2 as IDs here, name as Jack and Jill, whose ages are 10 and 12. Let us suppose we have another data frame which has this IDs in a reverse order, ID 2, ID 1, and the gender is girl and boy, and this is the output you want to get. Let's say you want to merge these two data frames using some function, either left join or right join or something, so that you will get the data frame which contains information in both the individual data frames. For example, you can see the IDs are the common variables or the identifier variables that are common to both data frames, and we are using this ID variable to combine these two data frames, 1 and 2. So you have one Jack, and for 1 we have boy, and we have age of Jack as 10, and that is also being taken care. And you have Jill, and the ID variable of Jill is 2, so we will have 2 Jill, age and the gender. This is one example how the merging or combining the data frames happens. Now let us look deep into the different functions that are available in the dplyr package to combine two data frames. There are several functions that are available in the dplyr package to combine data frames. Few of them are left join, right join and inner join, and there are full join, semi join and anti join. In this lecture, what we are going to see are the first three, left join, right join and inner join. We will leave the audience as an exercise to understand what full join, semi join and anti join does in combining the data frames. Let us illustrate joining of data frames by creating two data frames first. Let us first create this data frame PD. This can be created using the code shown here, and when you print that, you can see the output as here. We have two names, Senthil and Sam. We have 2 months, Jan and February. We have blood sugar and blood pressure values of those variables. Now we are creating another data frame which contains 3 names, Senthil, Ramesh and Sam, and the other column carries the department where they are working. So Senthil and Sam is working in PSC and Ramesh is working in data analytics. To create this data frame, you can use this code, and when you print this data frame, you can see the result in the console as shown below. Now we have created two data frames, PD and PD new. Let us look at how left join works when you want to combine these two data frames, PD and PD new. Left join joins matching rows of data frame 2 to the data frame 1 based on the ID variables. From the syntax, we can see that function data frame 1 and data frame 2 is the syntax we have, and you have to specify the ID variable as the last argument. So now if you want to left join data frame 1, which is PD, and data frame 2, which is PD new, what it takes as a reference is the data frame 1, which is PD, and now it matches the rows of the data frame 2, which is Senthil, Ramesh and Sam, and sees in the data frame 2 what is matching with the name variables in the data frame 1. Essentially, it will keep only Senthil and Sam and not keep Ramesh, because it will take the matching rows from the data frame 2 to the data frame 1. So we will see that when you do the example. Now Here there are only two IDs corresponding to the values in PD new, and that will be matched with PD. The variable department will be added to the final data frame only for Senthil and Sam. Let us see in detail. You have two data frames. You need to load the library dplyr, and you are doing it left join, and I am naming the new data frame which is coming out with this left join operation as PD underscore left underscore join 1. I have to use this command left join. This is the data frame 1 I am passing in, and this is the data frame 2 I am passing in, and then I want to join these two data frames by the variable name. Now when I specify I want to join these two data frames by name, the left join, it will take PD as a reference, look for the names that are common in both PD and PD new, and then take the data from the PD new and merge it with the PD, and then create another data frame which is given by this name PD left join 1. So you have data frame 1 PD which contains Senthil and Sam, and it will look for Senthil and Sam in the data frame 2, and then merges the information that is available extra for these names and add it to the existing data frame with another column department, and the department of Senthil is PSC and the department of Sam is also PSC. It will rehold the PD and then add the corresponding piece of information that is coming from the data frame 2. Now let us look at the right join. Similarly, so what right join does is it joins matching rows of data frame 1 to the data frame 2 based on the ID variable. Let's say you have this data frame 1 which is PD and data frame 2 which is PD new, and you can do the right join by using right join command, and you need to pass what is data frame 1 and what is data frame 2. Here we have PD as a data frame 1 and PD new as data frame 2. Now what does it take is, it will take the PD new as the reference data frame and try to match the rows which are present in the PD new and look for a match in the PD. We have Senthil and Sam that are matching in the PD also, and it will keep this Ramesh now because the reference is this data frame. So you'll have Senthil, Ramesh and Sam, but for Ramesh you don't have month, blood sugar and blood pressure values which are replaced by NAs when the merging operation is done. You can change the order in which you pass the data frames, and you can see that if you change the order, you pass the data frame 1 as PD new and data frame 2 as PD, you can observe that the output is similar to the left join because now the reference variable here is PD. When you are using PD as a reference data frame, even though you are doing this right join operation, the operation is similar to left join because your PD is the reference in the right join here. So to summarize, left join and right join can be used vice versa, but depending upon the way you pass this data frames, the merging operations will either look similar or different. So you have to be careful when you are passing the arguments to this left and right join commands. Now let us see what inner join does. Inner join merges and retains those rows with the IDs present in the both data frames. Now you have data frame 1 which is PD new, you have data frame 2 which is PD. Now when I pass these two data frames as an argument to this inner join function and I want to match them by name, it will look for the rows with IDs present in the both data frames. In these two data frames we have Senthil and Sam present. It will print only the data that is corresponding to the Senthil and Sam because Ramesh is not available in this data frame 2. So we have seen left join, right join and inner join. We left as an exercise for the viewer to understand how full join, semi join and anti join works. To summarize, in this lecture, we have seen how to recast the data frames and how to combine two data frames using the dplyr package. In the next lecture, we are going to see how to do arithmetic, logical and matrix operations in R. Thank you.